Hello and welcome to AIFE Live. My name is Justin Harpin, founder of 21st Century Learning. Right now, we're streaming across Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. If you're in the audience, you should be able to comment, ask questions as we go. X and potentially LinkedIn may not support comments, a little bit iffy sometimes. So if you are joining on those platforms, you can feel free to jump across to one of the other streaming platforms that we support. The purpose of today's live stream is to provide some free, high-quality professional learning focused around AI and fun, short presentations. We're following the format we use at our Teach Meets, which, if you don't know, is short, snappy, 5-minute presentations. So if you have questions of presenters, you can ask them as they present, and they'll be able to respond to those questions in the chat afterwards. We will also share the slides for all these presentations if you've registered for the session. I will give a 5-minute warning, audio warning to the presenters, which I have warned them about, so don't think I'm being unkind. We just want to move things along and allow everyone to have an opportunity to share and in a short period of time. I should mention that all the presenters on today's stream are committee members or presenters of one of our two AIFE, or AIFE for short, AI and the Future of Education conferences. So these presentations are actually previews of what you could see if you join us in Jakarta or Yokohama this year. So if you stick around until the end, I'll also talk a bit more about those conferences, what to expect, and share a code that you can use to get a discount at the AIFE in Jakarta. At this stage, though, I'd like to welcome and acknowledge Alex and Nick. Alex is the conference chair for Jakarta, and Nick is the conference chair in Yokohama.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So I'd just like to say I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody in Jakarta. We've got a great lineup of speakers, and it's also great to partner with Nick, who's helping us to set up this second AIFE, and I'll also be at Yokohama helping out over there as well. So looking forward to seeing everybody at both conferences.
Yeah, hi everyone. We're still in the production stage of getting our presenters lined up and ready to go for Yokohama. So if you're interested in being one of those presenters, please do put your name forward. But very happy to be working alongside Justin and Alex on both the Jakarta and the Yokohama conference. So if you want to come and see Japan right after cherry blossom season, please sign up, and we hope to see you at Yokohama.
Fantastic. All right, thanks both. The first presentation we have today is from Alex, and it's entitled AI and the Creative Process. So I'm just going to add the slides onto the screen and take it away, Alex.
All right, thanks, Justin. So as Justin just mentioned, I'm going to be doing AI and the creative process. I also just want to say my internet is a little bit iffy, so I'm going to get through my 5-minute presentation right now, and hopefully there are no bugs. But I promise when I'm there in person, everything will run smoothly because, hey, we're there in person. So if you'd like to find out more, make sure to come. Without further ado, let's kick things off. All right, so how Gen AI can transform the creative process is more specifically what we'll be looking at. Our guiding question for the session is going to be, how can we use AI to enhance our creativity rather than replace it? And again, this is just a big highlight of some of the things that you will see. So just a 5-minute preview of an overall hour-long session. One of the things that we'll be looking at is a definition of creativity in the age of AI. So what might it look like if we were to think about the identities, the values, and the behaviors of creative individuals who use AI? I know that's a lot of information, but just looking at it quickly, we'll get the gist of it. I'll be sharing some of my favorite literature and films that I found very helpful when doing research for this presentation. One of my favorites is The Mind Explained on Netflix. It talks a lot about the connections between critical thinking and creativity, something that not a lot of people, including myself, before watching this, realized. Okay, let's talk about what a process is. So a pre-AI process would refer to steps that scaffold thinking, and it might look like these 4 things. 1, it might involve multiple steps, scaffold a variety of thinking, and use action-based verbs like plan, discuss, analyze, create, test. And finally, it would make thinking visible. So some examples of pre-AI processes that we're all probably familiar with would be Project Zero's thinking routines. Project Zero is the organization out of Harvard. See, Think, Wonder is one of their thinking routines, for example. Second, if we were to conduct research, try to solve a complex math problem, use a design cycle, an inquiry cycle, or if you're a coach, you might use a coaching cycle. So these are all typical processes that we're familiar with as educators. However, with AI, I'm proposing that we think about a post-AI or an AI-enhanced process. So notice how these are the same processes, but now AI is at the table. So a few slight changes. First, we chunk steps that show humans or AI doing the thinking. Second, we scaffold a variety of thinking and we include AI literacy as a part of that thinking, like which tool should I use? What AI is the best AI? What are the common pitfalls or the weaknesses of AI? Third, we do use action-oriented verbs, like I mentioned earlier, but we take into account AI. So new language like generate and prompt start to come into our vernacular when we're thinking about our action. And finally, we make thinking visible and transparent. So we try to show what we're working on or what we are thinking, and we're also transparent about that process and when and how AI might have been used in that thinking. One of the processes that I'll be touching on is called Think, Generate, Edit. And it sounds extremely simple, and that's done on purpose. The idea being that we can all memorize and internalize this particular process. I'll be going into depth about what those words could mean inside your context and what the research is showing behind those three words. Okay, let's look at a few examples and then I will end there. One of the examples will be from me, and I'll tell you a story about how I made a song entirely on my own. Then I went to AI and made different versions of it for 3 hours. And finally, I edited the final piece using my know-how, using music software and piecing it all together. And so in that way, AI was my co-pilot and enhancing my creativity and not replacing it. So enough about me. We could also look at some incredible educators. So this is an example from Alex Braden, my counterpart at the other campus of Shanghai American School in Pudong. Alex got to follow Think, Generate, Edit with some students, and there's this wonderful example. So first of all, the students were thinking about what evolution could look like with dinosaurs. Then they did their initial prompt by generating images of dinosaurs in the future. What would evolution look like if these dinosaurs continued to evolve? From there, the students generated a 3D model from their image using AI. It's so cool. And then finally, what the students did was prepare their 3D models for printing. So they edited by modifying their models and preparing them for print. So if anybody's done 3D printing, they know it's a lot of work to get a model ready for print. Okay, we also have some great examples from other teachers. So we'll look at what it could look like in an English class, trying to express tone. I'm watching my time. We'll look at some art examples and how thinking could actually not just be a prompt, but thinking could be in the form of a drawing. So in this case, this teacher created a sketch of what he wanted to express and then moved through the Think, Generate, Edit process with that as his initial prompt. It's a really interesting way of thinking about how when we're creative, our input could be a drawing, a song, text, so many different things. All right, and finally, consolidation. This is where I'm going to be wrapping up. I think I'm at the end of my time. So 2 final closing thoughts. Why I'm proposing the idea of using a process is that it could, without using a process, lead to this future that we see in WALL-E, in which people forget to walk. And that analogy is we forget to think when we use AI. The opposite is a future in which we all become Iron Man and we have our personal AI inside of our special helmet that helps us to fly and to save the world. And it helps us to enhance our thinking ultimately. So on that note, I want to say thank you very much and hand it over to my wonderful counterpart, Nick.
Am I overdoing it with the sound effects? Yeah, thanks a lot, Alex. I think one of the great fears people have about AI is the impact on creativity, and I really like the
Yeah.
scaffold and the structure you're bringing to it, and alleviating some of the fears that teachers might have about that potential negative impact. So
Yeah.
thanks again.
Thanks, Justin.
All right, I'm adding Nick into the stream now. Hello, Nick.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. So great to be here. Thank you, Alex. I have to say, my presentation is still in the taking shape form. And so I would love to actually have some questions throughout my slides, and I would love to get your input so that as we go through this and as I have the next few weeks and months, I can actually curate and develop the presentation to really match what it is that you can bring to that. So please, in the chat, if there is anything that strikes your fancy or you have an answer or some thinkings around the different questions that I pose, please do put that into the chat, and I'm happy to start incorporating that into the presentation. The presentation that I would like to give is around the idea of our brains on ChatGPT, and it really is related to that study from MIT that you've likely seen come out over the summer, where they did a little bit of an experiment, and they gave some different level of college students a task to complete an essay. The first group was given the ability to use ChatGPT to help them with the essay. The second group was given just the ability to use Google search, and the other group had no additional tools beyond their own thinking that they were reliant on. And so, similar to Alex's last two slides there, where he talks about what is this learned helplessness that can be the detriment of AI, and we know that technology always is that double-edged sword. What can we do to avoid that with our students? And I think human nature, just like water, takes the path of least resistance. And so it is really a matter of choice. And how do we start to instill that within our students in the educational field to ensure that they are putting in the hard work now to come away with the skills and the knowledge that they need later? So within my presentation, I really wanted to start thinking about what does it mean if we start outsourcing our thinking to AI? What happens when AI is doing the reading or thinking for us? Are we still developing our own cognitive muscles, or are we letting them begin to atrophy? One of the analogies that I like to use with AI is that it can be an e-bike. And whether we ride a normal bike or we ride an e-bike, we get to the same destination. But if you were to evaluate your heart rate or your kind of muscle growth after riding a bike for, let's say, 100 kilometers on your own, your body's going to have gone through a lot more stress, and you're going to end up coming away with a lot more muscle and a lot more benefits to your cardiovascular health, et cetera. Versus if you use an e-bike, you still get to that same destination. You're probably going to be a lot less out of breath, and the benefits that your body are going to get from that are not as great as if you were to have been doing the work on your own. And through my own experience, I'm doing my master's right now in educational technology online. I've been using AI to really help me get through a lot of my assignments. And I've noticed that I've been doing things a lot more fast, or instead of reading the articles that perhaps I'm given, I was starting to use AI to generate a podcast. And I wanted to do an evaluation on myself of, am I getting the same level of thinking if I read the article and do deep reading there versus listening to perhaps the podcast? And so that begs the question, when we're honest with ourselves, what parts of our daily lives or daily thinking or creating have we outsourced to AI? And what effects have you seen on yourself? Just take a moment to think about that for yourself. And when I do it for me, I've realized that there are things that I maybe have started to atrophy. I will go to ChatGPT to help me rephrase some bullet points that I've developed and put them into an email. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm not necessarily saying that it's a bad thing, but it's something for us to begin thinking about, especially with our students. With our students, just yesterday, I did a little bit of a survey and had them, and we asked them the question, a bunch of grade 10 students, what is it you want adults to know about technology that you think maybe we don't? And these are 15-year-olds responding. And I'm sure that when we were 15, we had ideas of what our parents we wish our parents knew about technology when we were that age. And a lot of their answers were, oh, why can't we use AI if we're doing a test? Or why can't we use our phones? We're going to have these things available to us in the real world when we go out into the workplace. And that kind of struck me because I remember saying the exact same thing when I was in elementary school about the calculator. Why can't I use a calculator on this test when I'm going to have it with me all the time? And so it was just an interesting thinking there. And so these are the kinds of things that I would like to dive into with you and do this through a workshop in my presentation around what are the skills, the knowledge, the understandings that we need to be able to instill in our students and ensure that they're coming away with these fundamental skills that they're going to need when they exit our schools. And so that brings us to the future of learning in the age of AI. Similar to Alex, how do we use ChatGPT to help us with what reading and writing and thinking looks like? And our keynote speaker, Warren, is going to be talking about rethinking thinking. What does this look like in the future in terms of AI and how we're using it to do all of these different tasks? How do we consider the risks of efficiency versus depth of thought, or speed versus true understanding? Does it even matter anymore? Is a great question. What role should AI play in classrooms and lifelong learning? And then finally, this is my big point. In an age of AI shortcuts, how can educators inspire our students to embrace the process of hard work as essential for growth? So how can we really ensure that our students do the hard work now so that they are prepared for that future down the road? So that's what my presentation is going to be about. Thank you so much. Thank you for the people who put some comments, and I look forward to seeing you all in Jakarta.
Nick, that was great. I've been doing a lot of thinking myself around this whole question of delegation, right? And what does that mean with AI? And there's this old axiom about good writing is good thinking. And I feel like good use of AI, good delegation to AI is good thinking, right? In terms of how do you compartmentalize your work in such a way that it can be effectively delegated. And I think that's a skill, actually, that kind of executive functioning skill becomes far more important for everyone, right? Whether you're in the workplace or a student at school. So thanks for sharing that very much. Yeah. Up next, we have Silky from American International School of Guangzhou with Inquiry Empowered Rethinking Research in an AI Era. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Silky this side. And today I'm just going to give you a quick session preview of the main session that I'm going to have in Jakarta in November. Just let's start with the session preview now. I like to start with the why because it's really important to know why we do what we do. Just think about one thing before I start the session. Imagine your students are going to dive into a deep research. Where do you think they go first? Do they go to the books, the databases, Google, or AI? And I'm sure most of you know the answer to this. Is AI really changing the way our students are tackling research these days? And the spoiler is yes, in bigger ways than what we think they are doing. When AI enters the process, it can either sharpen the inquiry or make research really effective, or it can even short circuit it. So let's see why we have to have this conversation, this really important conversation. Okay, let's look at some of the figures here. 66%. Moving on to 92%. This is actually the proportion of students reporting using AI, and it has jumped from 66 to 92% in just 1 year, from year 2024 to 25. Another statistics here. 86% of the students worldwide are using AI in their academic projects. 54% use it daily, and 25% use it every day. Okay, I think I made a mistake there. It's 54% weekly and 25% daily. And this data comes from Digital Education Council. And 69% of them in the survey said that they use AI for information searching. So we have a question here. Is Gen AI the new Google? So now that we know a lot of our students, so many of them are actually going to AI for information searching, how we as teachers, how we as educators can really empower our students to use AI ethically and become responsible users. Think about it. This cycle that you're seeing here, I'm sure you have seen this research process, this inquiry cycle a lot of times in many different ways. But now the question is now, as AI enters this process, how can we guide our students? What can we do to really make this shift ethical for them? How can we actually allow our students to use AI to amplify their learning and not substitute it for copy pasting or not substitute it for their thinking? So, that is what I'm going to do in my session. We are going to look at some AI strategies and AI integration, how it actually looks like in practice in your classroom. I have some ideas, I have some examples from my own teaching and lots of tools which will allow us to look into AI integration in a different way. So we're not talking about Chat GPT or DeepSeek, but we will be looking at some tools that will help us really amplify our students, help our students to amplify their learning. So one of the tools here which I'm showing is the visual learning research using concept maps and mind maps. It's Heuristica. We're going to talk in detail about this tool. We're also going to talk about the Magic To Do, which is an amazing tool to tackle learner variability in our classrooms. Not all our students are equipped to handle big projects. They might want to break it down into smaller actionable steps. So this is a great tool for doing that. And apart from these two tools, I will also share many other tools that can actually allow us to guide our students to use AI responsibly. Another thing which I will definitely share is one of my activities that I created for my DP students. It's about refining the research questions, because this is an important activity as it doesn't give them ready-made research questions or answers, but it actually allows them to critically think about their research question. It allows the kid to really think about what they want to research about, how they can narrow down their research using the research limiters, and then come up with a research question that is narrow and focused and that can really help them work through their entire process. So another thing is we are also going to talk about lots and lots of strategies for credibility check, because evaluating information which is generated from AI is really critical, because there is a lot of bias, there are a lot of other things that hamper the correct information or the credibility of the information. We're also going to use and see a lot of AI fact checking tools. We are going to talk a lot about all of this. I know it feels like so many things, but they are related to actually refine the process of research with using AI, considering the ethical use of this new technology. And also, it's a great idea to actually be very transparent with our students and tell them what are the expectations of IB. How does IB allow us to use AI in our projects and assessments and even your extended essay and personal projects? So we're going to create something called as an AI contract. I'll show you examples of some AI contracts that I have created with my classes, my grade 10 and my grade 11 and grade 12 classes. It'll be a great collaborative learning where I'm sure you will be engaged and be interested in working with me. Last but not the least, we are going to collaboratively create a toolkit with lots and lots of resources and prompts. And this is something that you can take back to your school. You can share it with your colleagues and also use it with your students the very next day. So I can't wait you to meet at Jakarta and dive into inquiry empowered rethinking research in an AI era. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Silky. That was fantastic, and I can't wait to hear more in Jakarta. I think this whole question of information literacy is being so upended with AI. It used to be check your sources, right? That was the whole thing. But now, when the information just comes out instantly and at least appears on the surface so credible, I think the whole question of how do you even begin to check? Because even if you look up a source to check what against what the AI has generated, that itself may have been generated by AI.
Yes.
We're really living in the simulation. Thank you for all the work you're doing thinking about this. And I think it's going to be a great help to those that join us in Jakarta. Thanks
Thank you,
again.
Justin.
Off you go, Shannon.
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Jakarta. What I'd like to do is talk a little bit about a framework that we're going to be introducing. And it doesn't seem that, oh, there we go. Basically, AI is a powerful partner in helping us do what we do as teachers. And an example of this is I use a recorder app. It gives me a transcript. That transcript is put into an assistant that I created, and it really saves time. I can make emails from it. I can do task lists. I can send proposals, all of that with the recorded meeting notes, and I don't have to worry about taking notes, thinking about it. Now, I think it's important for us to think about how AI can help you, and I think it's important to move beyond pre-made tools. And the reason I say that is because there's so many different types of platforms. We've got DeepSeek, we've got Quinn, we've got Kimi, we've got ChatGPT, we've got Poe, we've got Copilot. There's so many different things out there, and you can do a lot of things with it. And I think it's important because you don't need to be a tech expert or a prompt engineer. You just have to be a curious educator that's willing to think out loud and have that conversation with AI. I just want to share some examples of some things that I've been able to create easily with just having a conversation with my AI thought partner. So I'm going to share a few examples. The first one, of course, PoBots. You can create a PoBot for anything. And I've got some examples of a Jedi Master, and that's more for about justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, not Star Wars, sorry. And there's an ELL translate bot that helps translate words and makes the table. It's very cool. Teachers basically put a list of words in, and they choose which language they want it to translate to, and it spits out a table with those words. It helps to make the language more accessible for English language learners. When I was in Singapore the last time, I was collecting a bunch of business cards, and I was starting to put this into my contacts, and I was like, wow, this is going to take a long time. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, hey, if I take a picture of a business card, would you be able to give me a file or something that would allow me to put this into my phone contacts? And I said, yeah, I can create a .vcf files. Oh, this is amazing. And so I created basically a GPT, a custom GPT. So I open it up, I can take pictures, and within a matter of seconds, I've got a VCF file that I can download, and a couple of clicks, and that information is put into my contacts. I don't have to spend time doing it. It's very cool. I also had to work with our operations managers at our school here, and they wanted to look at data. So I did some talk with DeepSeek, and I started talking to it, and I said, here's some data. Can you help me visualize this? And it creates HTML interactive data dashboards in a matter of minutes or seconds, depending. And it's just amazing. This is just some of the examples. There's one more, I believe. Yep, no. So these are just some of the examples of what you can do. And it isn't really about using AI. It's more about collaborating with it. I think it's important for us to realize that if you know how to talk to a person, you can figure out how to use AI to do a lot of things that you thought might be impossible. In my presentation, I'll be sharing some more examples, going in a little bit more in depth with the examples, also showing some quotes from certain people like Jensen Huang and so forth to support the use of this. Basically, what we're going to be doing is realizing that as we're shifting from consumers to creators, because AI is giving power back to educators to be able to do things that they weren't able to do before, because you don't need to know how to code. You just need to know how to talk, which leads me to the purpose of my presentation, which is to introduce the talk framework. This framework is designed to help educators use AI in a more human, intuitive, and reflective way, and it helps you create things that I found over using this kind of framework for the last year and a half, that it creates better results than just prompting. Because when you prompt, you might forget stuff. But if you have a conversation with AI and you go back and forth until you're finished, then you ask it to create, then what happens is everything that you've had the conversation with before is remembered by the AI. So it creates a better result, and you don't have to keep going back and forth and reprompting. And so I hope that you guys will join me and learn how to talk to think with AI in Jakarta. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks so much, Shannon. That's great. I really believe in this thing about AI makes everyone creators. I was just actually, a colleague shared with me something that he created with AI recently, and it was amazing. And his comment was, good luck if you studied coding in the last few years. And actually, my response to that was not that AI is going to replace coders, as it makes everyone a coder. That's really the powerful thing about it. I think that's great. And I love the framework around talk. It's really good. So yeah, thanks again, and see you in Jakarta. And next up, we have Alex Braden, 3D printing using AI tools. And Alex is going to be sharing his screen. So let me just find that there. Have you shared your screen yet, Alex?
No, I haven't. I'll do so right now. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
And how are we looking?
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
So I really should start out by saying thank you to Shannon for a fantastic segue to this one, and to say thank you to Alex McMillan for including me in his project and just allowing these kind of thoughts and ideas to get out there. To set the stage, as Alex shared, this was a project for a grade 10 biology class, and the kind of goal was for students to create an evolved creature. And our first iteration was what you saw in the other presentation, and the students worked with AI and just ideated a little bit. But to Shannon's point, they didn't really have a conversation with the AI. And they would take a picture, and generally, we know our students, they generally take the first or second thing that comes up, and off they go. So the teachers and I sat down, and we thought, how can we make this a more insightful, more of a learning activity for the students? And so we went back, and using Flint, we loaded up all the teachers' documentation and the rather large, I had to break it in two, PowerPoint presentation they used that included everything they taught the students about evolution and all the factors of evolution and everything that goes into making, like helping a creature evolve over time, and then environment and all of these things. And we came up with this tool where the students interact with the tutor, and the tutor prompts them with questions to explain things they've learned about evolution and to factor in other things. And it won't spit out an image until they've engaged with it enough that they've actually come up with something that's unique. And so they go through it and they add these questions, and this is a very curtailed one, but just to give you an idea. So they go through with Flint and work through, Flint prompts them for different things, and eventually it comes up with a creature. And in this case, it was a small mammal that evolved from a wet climate to a dry climate. And then it will create an image. So then the student can take that image and download it, and keeping in mind that they've also, when working with Flint in this bot, created an entire evolution story for the animal, which they will then share as part of their final project, which in a group, they create a timeline of evolution of everybody's evolved animals and the stories of how those animals evolved into the habitats they evolved into. But anyway, they finally get their picture. And it's one in this like version 2.0 of this activity that is truly unique, not something they found online, but they've created this creature. So then we go to this website called Maker World, and this comes with, if any of you have Bamboo Studio 3D printers in your school, this is their interface for different tools, but you don't have to have one of their printers to access this website. You just create an account. It uses, in China, it uses a phone number, which is safer for the children, but you could also do it through your own account if you had younger ones. And they've got a whole bunch of tools, like you can take a 2D photo and make a 3D representation of yourself, or light boxes, or toys, or all kinds of things. They just added laser boxes, but they have this tool right here, generate a 3D model from a single image. And it gives you that 3D access that you can use. So we load up the image and it spits out this. So here we can see that same creature in 3D, and I can download it. And once I download it, the students download it and they save it into their wherever they happen to save things. And then depending on the setup of your school, they could use that 3D model and just turn it in through a PowerPoint or anything else that hosts a 3D image. Or if you have access to 3D printers, you can throw it in the 3D printer and print them out for the students, which is what we did. And then they could create a physical representation of their entire timeline and everything they had done for their project. So that's it for me. I'd love any questions or thoughts or comments in the comment channel, and happy to respond to those as the presentation goes on.
Thank you very much, Alex. Really appreciate that. Fantastic sharing and very creative. I think my daughter, who's 11 years old, would love that project at school to 3D. And I just love how you're bringing all of these things together. I can imagine the kids are really engaged with that whole process.
They were. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, up next we have Warren, who is our keynote in Jakarta and also collaborating with 21C on some other projects as well, which I'll touch on at the end. But for now, I will hand over to Warren to talk about live translation tools for school leaders.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm Warren Apel. I'm super excited about this conference. It's going to be great. I love AI. And I keep discovering new things, and I'm going to show some to you. Some of these maybe you haven't seen before. Maybe you have. Maybe you've learned about these long before I did. I just want to show you 3 very quick ways that we've been using AI for translating at ASIJ. Okay, so first, we have a new head of school this year. And at the beginning of the year, he came to me with a challenge. He wanted live subtitles in Japanese projected behind him while he gave his opening address to the faculty and staff. And so I poked around and I tried to find something that would work really well, but also would look classy. And I guess I have a blind spot when it comes to Microsoft, because I found a bunch of websites and a bunch of apps, but I didn't know that this feature is just built into PowerPoint. So we just made a PowerPoint slide, and it just had one black slide on it. And then we projected that along with the live translation in Japanese, which is a really powerful way to build community and improve belonging. Yeah, it worked really well. Also, my friend Greg in Chennai, he told me about the Microsoft Translator app for iPhone, which is free and amazing. With all of the other conversation translators I've used, you have to push and talk, right? So you push, you talk a little bit, then you hand it to the other person, they read and they talk. It's not a naturally flowing conversation. But with the Microsoft Translator, there's this conversation feature. It listens for both languages at once, and then it live translates it. So you can set it down on the table, and half of it is upside down, so both people can read it. It's really awesome. It's got a ton of other features I won't get into. It's amazing for parent conferences. It's so good for parent conferences, and it works with every language, and it's free. There are apps like this that are really popular in Japan that have ads all over them, and this doesn't have any ads, and it's free. I love it. And then I want to show you a trick. I showed this to new teachers this year, and they really appreciate it. This is using ChatGPT or Google Gemini or any chatbot that you like for context-aware translations. I'm going to show you ChatGPT because it worked really well for me. For context, we really love Google Translate. Everybody in Japan uses Google Translate. It's great for menus. It's great for food labels, but it's literal and it's not context-aware. So when you translate the buttons on an appliance like this air conditioner remote, you don't really learn what the features do. You just get the translation of the words on the button, and you also don't learn the Japanese words for them. So what I do with my remote controls or any of my other Japanese instructions, the appliances or whatever, upload photos of the buttons to ChatGPT. And if the photo has the model number in it, it can read the manual before it answers your question. And so I asked it for advice about how to use this remote control, and it gives me a table. It helps me learn the kanji and the pronunciation. It tells me why I would use that button. It's amazing. And then I can ask it questions about how to make it colder or how to turn on the swing function of the louvers. So anyway, it's amazing. Just this last year, finally, after living in Japan for 10 years, I can finally use all of the functions of my bathtub and my toilet thanks to AI. And yeah, so that's AI translation. Thanks.
So much more. That's great. I can attest to using a lot of these tools as well for translation. It's really powerful. And I just think our ability in international schools to engage with our full community is just so much more than it ever was before. And for that matter, for the community to engage with us, right? If you're a non-English speaking parent, for instance.
For
I
sure.
think it's just the tip of the iceberg with all of this stuff. Okay, and next up we have Cora and Dalton. And Cora and Dalton have joined us from another online stream. So we will see if they're able to get everything sorted here. So welcome, Cora and Dalton. All right, are you able to change the slides, guys?
I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
all right.
thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Okay, over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. We have the link here if you want to join as well.
It's not quite a short link. It's a longer short link, but I don't think
Depends on
there's
which link you're on. Anyway, let's
I
move
don't think
next
there's
one.
ads on it. It's
So my name is Cora. This is Dalton.
my name is Dalton. Yeah. If you join the short link, there'll be something later that you can try out. That's why we put it on the screen. If you don't have the time to type it in all right now, maybe take a picture of it.
Yeah, we didn't mention about to put alignment here. This is our side gig. If somebody loves working too much, they started their side gig. But meanwhile, we're full-time educators. We work in Chinese International School, Hong Kong. I am the secondary ed tech coach.
Primary learning innovation coach, and we're married and we have a child together.
Never suggested to work with a partner. But this is also why the reason why we care about AI literacy so much, because we're also parents. A lot of times when we think about AI, we're thinking about what would be the best for the future generation, because we also have a kid and she's super creative. She's such a funny person. We want her to have the space to express her creativity, meanwhile living in a safe and responsible use. Everyone feel like our vision is all being aligned.
Yeah, it's one of our motivators. Let's keep going. One thing we think about a lot is using these tools safely. We know Google has been stealing our data for a while, but these AI tools, they're reliant on data as well for training their models.
When you actually look all of these platforms, and it's quite shocking that how much like different platforms are collecting our data. But you also need to know that all of this information based on your free users, you're paying for that. But some of the platforms, if you are having subscription, and you will be able to bail out. But considering the accessibility of different platforms, a lot of times, a lot of people won't be able to afford subscriptions. So before you're going to step into any new platforms, take a second to have the second thought, because is this safe for us to use? Do I want my students or my kids in the future, their information going to be everywhere on AI? Next. Oh, sorry. Here.
Okay, so there's two studies that we've been thinking a lot about recently. I think somebody might have talked about this earlier because I was sneaking a look at all the slides that were being posted. This is about cognitive debt and using AI to write with you. So they had a few different groups. They had one group that wasn't using any AI. There's one group that was using Google, and they had one group that was using AI to help them write. The Google that was using AI to help them write, they didn't engage as much with the writing. Their brain did not light up in the scanners the way the other groups did, and they couldn't remember what they wrote about right after they'd finished. There was another study that was done that was from Harvard, and it's on personalized learning. So they had an active lecture, and then they had the same content was filled into an AI chatbot, and so the students could interact with the AI chatbot. The students interacting with the AI chatbot were able to learn more and increased efficiency. So they spent less time doing it. So I was thinking about these two studies. We know it's powerful, but we know we don't want to outsource our thinking or cognitive offload to these machines, to these computer systems. So how do we use it appropriately? I think AI literacy is so important at this time, right?
Yeah, and we do know that educators have a lot of concerns. So that's why we bring more academic perspective here, because it has a data support. This is something we just talking in the previous presentation about the care cards. We actually have physical part here. We also have it for leaders and as well for parents. The reason why we were doing this, because we want to bring, like we mentioned, want to bring everyone, all stakeholders in the community to this alignment, and our vision could be aligned, and we want to ensure that all voices can be heard. You can find this website, you can find this digital version, which is going to draw a card randomly for you. You can use it to bring it back to your community.
Yeah. This is one way that you can engage with AI literacy, just playing games with your students. Quick Draw is a great one for looking at the data and how the data is collected, but all these odd one out you can use for different contexts.
We want to introduce complex AI concept into more fun, engaging ways. So that's why it's quite important sometimes when we introduce in a more fun way and let people to take the new concepts in the easier way.
Yeah. I think we might be running out of time, so we'll try to go a little bit quicker. So this summer, actually at the end of the school year, Google was doing an AI EDU fellowship in Hong Kong, and Cora and I got to take part in that. We're really excited about it. And because we were thinking about so much about AI literacy, we wanted to create an AI literacy course, but we wanted that AI literacy course to have AI embedded in it.
And right now, the current platforms, if you find it, either would it be traditional, like not quite traditional, but Kahoots, either, or you implement all different, like the question blocks, and or you have AI. There's no midway, which you can do both of the ways. You can do the traditional way or more less advanced way, and as well as with AI. So that's why we thought about this.
Yeah, this course, teachers can design courses on it using AI blocks. The AI blocks can act as an AI tutor to consolidate the students' knowledge as they're going through, but you can also put in like traditional video blocks, text blocks, image blocks. The student can go in and they can go through these, check off all the modules, and they can get a certificate at the end. So this one is designed for teachers. It's an AI literacy course for teachers. So if you have the short link, you can try it out. Please don't share the short link on Reddit, because right now I'm paying myself for the API fees and for the storage and the database and everything.
We need to ask Justin how many people here, so make sure you're breaking our wallet. So
if it shuts down, it's just because too many people have logged on. But if you want to give it a try, I would love feedback from anybody who gives it a try.
Yeah, we also hope to bring the new learning experience because it's with AI embedded, but we hope could be the nice balance between more like a traditional way to learning as well as with the support of AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, we talked too much because we're worried about.
It's all right. You're a little over there, but I gave you a little forgiveness.
We made it. Thank you, Justin.
You made it in time, so I appreciate that. Thank you again for all your enthusiasm and all the amazing resources you guys create. So just to reiterate to everyone, please do share that on Reddit. I'm pretty sure I read that right.
No, don't listen to Justin.
Was that? Share? I don't know. I can't remember. I got that backwards. Just do whatever you want to do. It's my advice to the audience. All right. Thank you, Cora and Dalton. We have one more presenter today, and that is Steve Jackman. And I'm going to add him onto the stage, and I'm going to add his computer onto the stage. 1 second. Over to you, Steve.
Hello. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay, so today we're going to be taking a quick look at Apple Intelligence. Why Apple Intelligence? It's privacy focused, it's super simple and embedded to everything within an iPad increasingly. I just thought I'd show you a few little tricks. We talked a lot about privacy today, and I think Apple Intelligence really focuses on privacy. And so when I'm thinking about playing with AI tools like image generation, I feel like Image Playground on iPad and iPhone is a really great place to start. I don't want to be sharing precious photos of my family online and it being used for generations. For example, my cat here, I really don't want pictures of my cat just being used online without my permission. But with Image Playground, I can just get stuck in and I can have a play with that. So I can go to add to playground and I can create my own kind of virtual version of playground. Maybe I want to turn my cat into a superhero with a cape. And now, hey presto, just on the iPad, it's hopefully going to generate my superhero cat image for me. And when I'm thinking about experimenting with AI generation in the classroom, this is where I want to go. So like cape, a hero. It doesn't always work because the privacy tools are really locked down, but I think it's just a really fun and simple way to explore generating images with AI in a really super safe space. Yeah, I need to spend a little bit of time doing this. So maybe a cat in space. Let's see if I can get it to go to space. But yeah, you get the idea. Right. heading back to where we're up to. Yeah, we did image playground there. Magic wand. Magic wand's a cool little tool. So here I am in notes. I'm going to get my notes and I'm going to get my pen. I'm thinking about schools for the future. It should be trying to correct my terrible handwriting using AI as well. Yeah, there it goes. And then maybe what I want to do is when I'm writing about my schools for the future, I want a little bit of an image to help me think about what I want it to be. So I'm going to draw my kind of idea of what I want my school of the future to be. I don't know why I'm going with circles, but let's go with circles. And I've got my little magic wand tool here, and my magic wand tool here is just going to help me take that image. So I want to start with some few words or phrase that best describe this. Describe that image there. Not going so great with screen sharing. Cancel. Let's try that one more time. Never demo live is what I say. Here we go. Let's try one more time. Let's try school in space. So I've got this kind of scientific school. Maybe I want to change it to a sketch or an illustration. Maybe I want to put a tree in the middle. So really fun way of just exploring simply on my device, different kind of image ideas. Also, I think what I want to do now is I want to record some audio. I really want to talk about how great Apple Intelligence is. So I'm going to record my audio, just get my thoughts down on paper. Good, press record. Hey everyone, today I'd like to share how Apple's new Apple Intelligence features are transforming teaching and learning. Blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. So I click done, and it's going to be able to generate the text for me. I'm going to switch to here's one I made earlier rather than demoing it all live. And we've got my ideas recorded here. And I've got my summary of the text. I could take this, I can add my transcript to my notes. There it is, everything I said right here, because I don't really want to read everything I've written. Maybe I'd like it just to get my thoughts together. I can click on writing tools and I can get it to give me a summary of what I've written. All on device, super simple, without any challenges at all. Everything works perfectly with Apple Intelligence. Over to you, Justin.
Thanks so much, Steve, and bonus points for doing a live demo and not using slides. It's always a bit of a risk, but I think you handled it well. And before we go, I want to just do a quick group photo with all of our presenters. So I'm going to add all the presenters back in. So make sure you've got your video on, guys. And we'll do a quick group photo. I'll change the layout here so it doesn't look so weird. There we go. Cora and Dalton are in there. All right, we've got special effects. Lee Jing, are you there ready to take the screenshot? All right. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate all of the sharing today. It's been really great. And with that, I would like to now just share a little bit about the conference. So we have two fantastic keynotes, one of whom you've already heard from, Warren, and the other keynote we have coming to the AIFE conference in Jakarta is Kevin. And Kevin's based out of Hong Kong. He works with a lot of corporates. So he's really bringing the perspective of what are employers looking at today and what do employers want from students, what skills do teachers need to teach in order to prepare kids for the workforce. We're hearing a lot when you read media about is this job being eliminated? Is that job being eliminated? But what's actually the truth on the ground? That's what Kevin can bring. And Warren is going to be talking about rethinking thinking from the school's perspective. And so I think we have two really dynamite keynotes to kick off the first day on Saturday in Jakarta. And then in Jakarta, you'll have the opportunity to attend, I think, up to 5 one-hour sessions, as well as up to, I think, 4 30-minute sessions. We're going to have a fantastic social at a hotel right near the school. So as with all of the 21C conferences, there's lots of opportunity to get great content, but also to network and to really come together with some of the people who are the dynamite presenters that you heard today, as well as the other presenters we have at the conference. Besides the conference itself, We also have two amazing pre-conference opportunities. One is, as I mentioned before, we're working with Warren to develop this International School Technology Leadership Certification, or ISLIC for short. This is a bit of a mouthful. And that is a 3-day program that will take place at the Intercontinental Hotel just before the conference on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And so if you are a aspiring technology director or someone who's in role and wants just to have another opportunity to build a professional community and upskill, this is the opportunity for you, because there's really nothing else out there for those people that are in these roles or want to be in these roles in international schools. This is something we're putting together to support that. And the other pre-conference is directed at educators, teachers who are maybe just getting started with their AI journey, want somewhere to upskill themselves, and how could they design the future of learning in their classrooms. And that's with Steve Jackman, a 1-day pre-conference. Again, thanks again for attending. Here is the code as promised. So you can use this code AIFE Live, very imaginative, I know, to get $50 off your registration for AIFE in Jakarta. So very much looking forward to seeing everyone there. Thanks again to all of the presenters today. We will be sharing slides, most of the slides, with you if you registered, and we will be sharing snippets of these presentations as well on social media. So once again, thank you, and we'll close the stream there.